Thanks for clicking on to the Wednesday edition of Vogan's European Outlook. Upcoming 7 days of the CFSV2 looks like this here, firmly below average across northwestern Europe here, firmly above average across western Russia, as you can see here, and into week 2, still below average according to the CFSV2. So this is the 8th through the 15th of the month, and then it looks as if we start to see a warming trend taking place during the second half of the month. Now, looking at this is off the 850 temperatures here. This is the GFS ensembles, and you can see here that we go into negative here, so we are firmly below average through the period between generally now all the way right through till about the 9th, 10th of the month. And then you notice here for the GFS ensemble spread for Greater London. So this is the 850 temperatures, of course, and you can see here that it is warming up quite considerably. Now there is a very large spread overall in terms of the 850 anomaly here. We do have plus 20 Celsius, a couple of outliers, but there is some model runs even indicating back below average once again. So really, once you get to about the 10th of the month, take your pick with regards to whether it goes above or below average. So a lot of uncertainty when it comes to the period towards the end of next week. And I alluded to this in yesterday's video. There is a westward shift in the storm track developing here, seen by the models. Changes over North America, but also we've got tropical features that are moving north into the mid-latitude pattern, engaging with the jet stream, and that will start to change, recast the atmosphere over the North Atlantic and indeed Europe here. The question that I've got to ask is this a blip or is it something more substantial showing up in the model runs? That is, of course, the big question. Of course, you go on to marfoganweather.com, you can see what my August ideas are. You can see what the ideas were for both the outlook for August, but also the summer forecast, what I had for the month of August. And really, I've kind of stuck to the summer forecast ideas put out back at the end of May, that we would have a relatively cool and relatively wet August overall. But there is a possibility, folks, of some surges of heat coming up from the south, especially if you start getting areas of low pressure winding up to the west of the UK, as opposed to barreling kind of west to east across the country, like we've seen over the last 24 hours. We'll look at that in just a second. Looks as if we may have seen one of the deepest areas of low pressure for the month of August since 1985, believe it or not. Of course, we have had the wettest July on record for Northern Ireland, 6th wettest for the British Isles, wettest on record for areas such as Greater Manchester, Lancashire, and I can't remember, there was somewhere around Wales, I think, was the wettest on record as well. But it has been a very interesting summer, no question about that. Warmest on record during the month of June, wettest on record for Northern Ireland, 6th wettest for, of course, the UK, like I've just said. And the question is, where do we go with regards to the month of August? Certainly the opening 10 days could be one of the coolest opening 10 days, by the way, for quite some time here in the British Isles. So I've showed you the CFSV2. These are the current temperatures according to Meteorological for now. So of course you've got plenty of warmth over Western Russia here. It's early August. I don't think it's overly exceptional, the kind of warmth that we're seeing across Europe at the moment here. Temperatures a lot more closer to the average. So warm, yes, but near average across the Mediterranean basin, of course. And still staying on the cool side across the UK and indeed Ireland. So, in terms of, let's have a quick look at Twitter if I've actually got the page up. I don't think I have actually, so bear with me just a wee second here, and we will have a look and see what my retweets have been for the last 24 hours or so here. So this is a tweet by our friend Shran Bruin, based in Dublin, Ireland. I believe it's Dublin, Ireland that Shran is based in. But he put this tweet out here saying Donnanook, Lincolnshire, had a mean sea level pressure down to 982 millibars. That's very impressive for, of course, the first couple of days of August at 11:30, and has remained steady since. The most recent depression in the first half of August. Now, of course, we've seen this in July, of course, an unusually deep area of low pressure over Northern Ireland at 984. It looks as if Of course, this has beaten that. But it looks as if you have to go back to the 9th of August 2019 for the last time we've seen central pressure down to those levels here. But of course, back then, as he says, it was over Ireland here. So that's quite interesting, of course. And it looks as if Shran has then put out this tweet to say that I've gone through the archives and the most recent depression I've been able to find in the first half of August to be as deep as the one right now over England is all the way back to the 5th of August 1985. So that is pretty impressive stuff. And like I said, we had it looks as if we had the lowest central pressure for the month of July at 984 over Northern Ireland. I believe it was since 1988. I could be wrong with that. I would have to look back and see, but that's two unseasonably deep areas of low pressure that affected the UK and Ireland during the month of July and now August. And of course, remember we had that storm at the very beginning of July that brought 90 plus mile an hour winds to the Dutch coast. It looks as if that was record breaking strong winds for the summer months. So we are seeing these big extremes this month, and we did see something similar back in 2015, of course. So yeah, interesting stuff, no question about that. Our friend Dan Harris, based at the Met Office, with a reading of 983 millibars on the 1300 observation at Yeovilton, has recorded its lowest August mean sea level pressure since records began in 1965. So, yeah, down across the southwest of the UK, that is the lowest August central pressure since records began, certainly at the station of Yeovilton anyway. So I thought that was quite interesting to see. So another fascinating day of meteorology across the UK, of course. Of course, the statistics for Ireland, the highest temperature was only 24.1 Celsius at Malin Head in County Donegal. I wonder when the last time we've seen a July maximum of that level. I'm not quite sure. So yeah, quite interesting stuff. We have got some stuff. Stay tuned. Like I say, if you haven't already done so, be sure to hit the subscribe button. This upcoming Sunday, I'm going to look at this little piece. New research based on the Hunga Tonga volcanic eruption. Upwards of 40 trillion gallons of seawater was pumped into the stratosphere in early 2022. Now, we did see a significant rise in global temperature, probably in response to this, and I think that's been an ongoing thing. You pump that amount of water vapor into the atmosphere, there's no question about it, you're going to start to warm the planet up. And that is something I'm going to look into in a little bit more detail this upcoming Sunday. So the 53rd edition of the Global Weather Report. Stay tuned. And like I said, if you're interested in weather and climate on the global scale, be sure to subscribe to the channel here for the latest on that. So that's this upcoming Sunday, of course. But another interesting thing here, this is by Aidan McGivern of the Met Office. Do indeed check out the deep dive on the Met Office YouTube channel from yesterday if you haven't already done so. Always great stuff. I really appreciate that deep dive that they produce each Tuesday. But this is an interesting one here. So this is July 2023, and it's based on two different time periods here. So this is, of course, July 2023, based on the 1961 to 1990 anomaly. So, of course, that's the old anomaly. This is for the July that has just gone, and the difference between the modern 30-day period, which is 91 to 2020, versus the 1961 to 1990 period. Now, remember, I had a really hard time, based on particularly the sea surface temperature anomalies. I was pretty confident that we would see low pressure dominating the pattern as we progressed through July, and I did believe even August as well. We'll wait and see what happens with August, of course. But I had a really hard time calling the temperature anomaly, whether it would be at, below, or above average in terms of the anomaly. Now, the sea surface temperature anomalies were considerably warmer than average. Also, with low pressure, you assume that there's more cloud cover in the atmosphere. So I thought the chances are daytime temperatures would be suppressed, nighttime temperatures would be above average, and that is exactly what has happened. Now, we have seen about a half a degree below average based on the modern 30-day climate data set. But of course, if you look at historical data sets, it's actually slightly above average here because, of course, we've warmed up over the last 30 plus years, of course. The point that I'm trying to make is that the temperatures by daytime were below average, but actually by nighttime it was above average. So you can understand why, even though I was firm on the low pressure dominated July, you can understand based on this why I had a hard time calling the temperature anomaly here, and I think I had it pretty close to average, to be honest with you, with a chance of slightly below average overall. So a pretty good call, I think, generally speaking. So, of course, that area of low pressure. We'll look at the ECMWF today. We've been looking at the GFS quite a lot recently, and you can see here this area of low pressure winding up. It looks as if we have had some very strong winds through the channel. In particular, it looks as if the strongest winds were on the French side of the English Channel. But nonetheless, we've had more heavy rain, thunderstorms embedded within that center of low pressure. Underneath that center, you tend to get the strongest upward motion, of course, and you can get some pretty big downpours associated with that. Now, of course, as I showed you in the 850 anomaly chart here, we've got this big dip in the 850s. The reason why, of course, is we have got that area of low pressure opening the floodgates to fresher northerly air coming down. So we are going to see suppressed temperatures, having a hard time, 20-21 Celsius over the next few days. And then it's all eyes on these two features here, running over the northern flank of that area of high pressure to the south. And what is going to happen is that area of low pressure looks rather innocuous, if you notice here, as we progress towards the upcoming weekend here. But notice this is the ECMWF. The GFS was more bullish in terms of a more potent area of low pressure. Looks as if the ECMWF is now starting to see a little bit more of a potency to this area of low pressure. It winds up, it deepens as it crosses the southern flank of Ireland and into the south of the UK. More heavy rainfall and strong winds, especially in the south side. It doesn't look as if there's much in the way of wind on the northern side, but of course, if you've got that circulation further north to the north of the centre, you've got those winds coming in off the North Sea, a rather fresh direction, of course. But that low pressure deepens down into the 998, 997 millibar levels. I think this is going to be quite a significant rainmaker, and because it has some tropical origin air associated with it, it's going to dump a fair amount of rain, of course. And remember, even if August, generally speaking, is a tale of two halves, the first half being wet, the second half being dry, the amount of rainfall we get during the first half of August may in fact tip the balance in terms of it being a wetter than average August. So we'll wait and see. But if you haven't already done so, do check out the August Outlook on marvellandweather.com. There is a link in the description below. And then we've got another area of low pressure moving in from the north, but also from the west. So more rain to come associated with that. And then you start to see a little bit of a change. This is the period up out to Tuesday, the 8th of August. Of course, this is one individual run. You have to run, of course, the ensemble to get a better idea of the trend. But the general emphasis looks to be that we're seeing a trough developing here to the south over the North Atlantic. And that changes the upper air pattern, folks, because we'll start to see the negative now developing to the west southwest of the UK. That would significantly build pressure to the east, so i.e. over the UK, over Spain and Portugal, should I say, over France, and then we've got the opportunity with areas of low pressure spinning off that trough, that upper level trough. You start to see these areas of low pressure winding up to the west of the UK. Therefore, you've got the chance of seeing warmer conditions coming up from the south, and that's something we did not see. Apart from that one episode, we did not see that during the month of July overall. Finally, let's have a look at the 850 temperatures for the same time frame. You can see here the opportunity is there. How much warmth we get from the south remains to be seen, of course. But you play through this, look very, very quickly indeed, and you can start to see what takes place. Of course, we've got a fairly healthy jet stream at the moment, thanks to the convergence of warmth to the south, cool to the north, coming together here. And as we play right the way through towards the end of the period here, there's that area of low pressure. There's the warmth coming, getting picked up ahead of the system. So, ran out of time as always. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you again tomorrow with more. Bye for now.